Hey guys, it's Gracie here. Today I'm going to show you my multi-mirror Stormweaver build that I've spent quite some time. Very quickly, let's just run through the stats first. So I have about 1000 intelligence and 10,000 mana. And every resistance is capped except for chaos, which I don't really need. I don't have mana regeneration. I will explain the build rationale later. I have 160 spirit, just nice for either cast on shock or blink. So I have some movement speed, mainly from my boots and also some passive skills. So to start with, I have the bread and butter, which is spark, inspiration, considered casting, acceleration, arcane tempo, and lightning mastery. In my view, the most important one probably would be inspiration and also, let's say, acceleration, because this allows you to actually cast more sparks with lower cost. Just take a quick look. If I take up this gem, it will cost at least double the mana, which means if I try to spam this cast, you can see how quickly it drains. And because this is my HP, I will die very quickly if I just get hit by random stuff. But with this, even if let me just heal up. Even if I spam, you can see it lasts at least twice longer. And I can easily heal back up and continue the spam. Now, acceleration, this doesn't really add to your DPS here, which I will explain in depth slightly. But what it does is it will make the projectile fly faster. Just take a quick look with and without. So the whole idea is this allows your spark to hit the monsters earlier, and in theory it should kill the monster before they even see you. This one, well, nothing to explain, it's just flat damage. It will contribute to your paper DPS. Same for this, and it is a lot of paper DPS for this. Usually I wouldn't recommend using this unless you have good enough hit damage already, because otherwise you are just burning mana and doing no damage. In some of my older build, you may notice that I don't even use this, whereas I will use some other, let's say, damage gems just to boost my hit damage. Lastly, for lightning mastery, well, I'm using it only because I have nothing else to use it on, and it's a good DPS boost, like around 100,000-ish. And the best part is it doesn't consume any additional mana. If you look at some of the gems, you will see this cost multiplier. They add up very quickly. If, let's say, you are using lightning mastery on, let's say, archmage, which I will explain later. Let me just sell the stuff and come back. Okay, sorry about that. Let's continue where we left off. So as I was saying, this lightning mastery is a good boost to the damage without adding any, let's say, mana cost. But you are playing archmage, which most of us, sorry, let me say all of us would, you definitely need this skill, and you should get it at least to the breakpoint. So if you go to this website, let me switch my screen. Here you can see that for archmage, there's all the level skills and different increments. You can see that there's a breakpoint from level 21 onwards, where each of them will give you, let's say, additional damage. Now this is just the base 7, and if you look at the archmage skill, by maximizing the quality you get another 2%, so 7% plus 2%, that's the breakpoint that we need. Now I don't need lightning mastery on this anymore because I'm already having it on level 21 from a max spirit gem plus 1 level from corruption. So when I was poor back then, what I used to do is, and this one you can save quite a lot, simply by using let's say a level 19 Archmage. Let me see. Do I still have it? Yes, this one. So let's say if I am using a level 19 Archmage, you would see that it is only 6% plus 2, which is 8%. But if I put this Lightning Mastery on, you should see a 9%, exactly the same with 21. See? So by doing this, if you are lucky, you probably can get it under 2-3 diffs, I think. Let's just do a price check. Yeah, easily 1 diff, but make sure it's max quality. So yeah, that's what you can do. Now I will put this back to my Spark and continue the skill gems. I won't talk about the DPS for now. I will have a dedicated section just to talk about the numbers and also some gameplay mechanics. Now going back to the skills, as with most Archmage gamers, I have Cast on Shock, but my setup is slightly different. So I have a Flame Wall, which is basically to allow me to shoot my Spark through projectile, but without me actually casting the Flame Wall. So I have it embedded inside the Cast on Shock, and then I have Wall Tag Mark, which basically will increase the shock effect. I will also explain this in depth in the magnitude section. Lightning Conduit, it is a bonus damage. Make sure you get the max level, plus corruption, plus whatever level modifiers you can get, which I will go through in the gears shortly. And the 2 other gems is the very standard ones, Impetus and Energy Retention. This allows you to basically, let's say, reduce, not to say reduce, but increase the energy gain so that you cast all this more often. And also potential refund of the cost. Blink, well, pretty standard. I use it on offhand. Or if I'm using Priorities for mapping, I would just swap out the Cast on Shock and go Blink. So this allows me to like do a very quick mapping. But I have to be careful because you can see the Blink actually is very costly with Archmage. So if I'm not careful, I will just accidentally blink too much, low mana, get hit by random shit and die. So yep, let me swap my gears back. Okay, now let me swap this back to Skeletal Warrior. It is for my second weapon set. Sorry, for Blink I'm using Unbreakable and Ingenuity to improve the cooldown rate. For Skeletal Warrior, it is mainly for my second weapon set, purely for this soul offering. I won't talk about here, I will explain later. So same common gems, Mid Shield, Last Gaps, Elemental Army, and well, ignore this one. This is just for me to hot swap. Let's say if I need penetration, I can just do it this way and put it somewhere. Yeah, so I don't have to keep it in my inventory. We know that there's very limited back slot in this game, which is very stupid. Now, Archmage, I've spoken about it earlier, make sure it's 21. Lightning Wrap, I will explain in the debuff section in depth, but these are the gems. So Strip Away, Lightning Exposure, Lasting Shock, Conduction, and Overcharge. Now, if you have to prioritize, because I got lucky with this 6 link here, let's just say you must have Strip Away, Lightning Exposure, and Overcharge. Well, the rest doesn't really matter, good to have. For Lightning, these are the gems, Unleash and Scattershot, you will see in the magnitude section. Conductivity, same thing, offhand, with Ritualistic Curse, Curse Ground, Heightened Curse, and Expanse. So these mainly are my debuff sections, and this is my soul offering. and mainly to increase my damage. Again, this is a lucky 6 link with good corruption. So ablation, whatever. So this one is a must-have. It increases the damage. Same thing. This increase the effect of the buff. This one is quite optional. It doesn't really help much. This 1% damage. If you just see here, it's 40%. Without this, 39. Persistence. Yeah, to me this is a must-have. So prioritize these 3 if you have only 3 sockets. Minion Mastery I've mentioned already, and Font of Mana just, well, it doesn't really work when you swap weapon. Now, before I go to the gears, let's talk quickly about what does 1, 2, 3, 4, these 4 skills really do. So let me quickly show you, so it's easier to think over.
I need more time.
Okay, so let's say I'm going to a boss room, and before the boss spawn, usually I will place down my debuffs. Let me verbally explain first, then I will show you very quickly. First, I will drop Ball Lightning. So usually I will just click twice or once, depends how soon I need all this to be done. Then I will Lightning Wrap to it. Make sure that the Lightning Wrap and Ball Lightning is set to weapon set 2 only. You don't want to cast this with Archmage. Let me just show you why. Let me swap back to my main weapon. If I cast this on my main weapon, let's say, you can see how fast the mana drains because of Archmage. But if I switch it only to weapon 2, it doesn't really cost anything. Now, again, key thing is I'm not using any of these so-called debuffs to make damage. It is mainly, you can see this spark ground on the floor. It is to leave this shock ground effect. So if you look at this skill description, you will see this shock ground. So with the shock ground, and I've tested quite a few other variants, like the more commonly used Orb of Storms. The thing is, nothing beats this shock ground when it comes to consistency in granting shocks. Shocks is basically the purple debuff that you will see. I will show you some icons later in the magnitude section. So if I can consistently apply shock using this, I can tailor my passive tree in a way that maximizes the debuffs when I'm on set 2. So anyway, Ball Lightning, Lightning Wrap, then I will place a Sigil of Power. How do you get this Sigil of Power? So it is coming from the weapon set 2. I'll quickly show the stuff and then go back to the skills. So here you can see Chiming Staff grants this Sigil of Power, and make sure you get, let's say, the ones with at least +4. If you have all spell skills on your amulet and other stuff, +4 is enough. If not, get the +6 because that will hit the breakpoint. But at least +4 is fine because +6 is expensive and as hell, and the benefit is not that much of a difference. Now, once you cast this tree, I would usually place this near where the boss would spawn, and finally, spike my own skeleton to get the juicy 40% damage increase. Let me quickly show you how it works in action. Let's say I'm going to a boss room, boss is about to spawn, I will drop this Ball Lightning, teleport to it, Sigil, curse, and spike, then quickly spark. While the boss is spawning, I will spark and spam, so that at least I use 1 or 2 pots charge. You see how quickly my Sigil of Power will go up, and this will easily boost my damage to 3.5 million. It's crazy. So again, this thing is quite bugged, so what I usually do is I will just open up this panel. See, this thing doesn't update. So again, just look at this number here. I drop 2 balls, I wrap, I spell, I spike, I spam. So by now the boss should have, let's say, spawned, and I will just continue to DPS and bring the pot if I need to. So usually the boss can't survive, as you can see in the demo earlier. And let me just heal up. Okay, so that's pretty much the so-called rotation. Now, is it really mandatory? I only use this full combination when I'm fighting bosses, or when I'm in, let's say, what do you call that? Simulacrum? Yeah, Simulacrum. So even if you don't use it in Simulacrum, it's fine. You can just keep it for level 14 and 15 in the last 2 waves. But I usually do it because it just melts the mobs, and by instantly killing all of them, I won't risk any potential death, like completely safe. So that's how these 3 debuffs are kind of working. And just very quickly, let me show you how it may look like. Skill that I have. So say switch my screen. So here you can see I'm about to fight the boss. So as you see, I drop the ball lightning and then I wrap to it. Now you don't need to do so many times, just at least 2 or 3 times. But the more you do, the more shock ground you have, the more guaranteed shock that you have. Then quickly Sigil of Power, drop the curse, and then I would spike my skeleton. See, they are flying up already. Now here you have to be careful, don't spark yet until you see this buff icon. Once you see this buff icon, you see I have 14 seconds here, which is a lot. Usually you only get 3 to 6 seconds. Once you get this so-called buff icon, now you can start accumulating your charges. You will see me starting to spam spark, heal up. By this time it is level 3 already and the boss hasn't spawned yet. Continue to accumulate. By now it's level 4, heal up again just in case I get hit. Now, this thing wouldn't last, see? And this is a full party boss. So the HP was like what? See? 69 million, 100 million. I missed that number. In 138, 168, 175, 200 million probably. I don't know, whatever, doesn't matter. So again, this is how you do it. This is it in full speed. So let's read it again. So you run it. Now I won't talk, you just watch. So yeah, that's how you do the debuff. Now, going back to the weapon set 2. So I've covered all these 3 debuff and this 1 buff. Now, again, it is to boost the damage. In theory, you don't need it because it is already a very high DPS. You can kill everything with this damage itself. But it speeds things up and reduce all the potential risks by one-shotting or few-shotting the bosses even. Now let's see. So I've covered skills, covered the buffs and debuff. Let's talk about gears. So I won't talk about the price here because I have a dedicated Excel which I will show after this, just to talk about the prices. For now, let's first talk about all these different gears that I have. So I have this one. Here you want to prioritize maximum skill level. You can get +4 all spell or +4 lightning spell when you are first starting. They are a lot more cheaper, and gradually just do the upgrades. I'm running a critical build, so you will see a lot of critical chance everywhere. And cast speed is important, but again, I wouldn't recommend getting it early on because it just makes the thing unnecessarily expensive. Before this, I was just using intelligence here. Then maximum mana and spell or lightning damage as much as possible. So I start with 60 and then gradually upgrade. So this one I think I have about 110, 88 plus 36, yeah, roughly that. I have also a critical helm, so crit chance, double rest, mana and energy shield. I got lucky here with this so-called wall, so I have double socket it and put let's say double mana gems on it. For this shield, I'm also using triple socket with triple mana gems. Now, this breakpoint I will talk about it later. I'm going for the 650 breakpoint, which is the maximum you would benefit from. For the increased armor and energy shield, doesn't really matter because the base is pretty low, but since I'm min-maxing, I'm just getting the 600 ones, which is very expensive. You don't need it when you start. Prioritize this, start with 600 if you can, otherwise 500 something. Let's just talk about the breakpoint first. Switch my screen. So, here you can see, well, I prepared a list of table. Now, the thing is I didn't go, let's say, below 75. Let me just quickly fix this. Okay, so this should be good enough. So when you first start, probably try to aim for the highest breakpoint that you can afford. So let's say you only can afford up to 550, go with that. Don't bother with 551, 552, 553 because it doesn't add much. Sorry, let me rephrase. It doesn't add anything at all because after 550, your next increase would probably happen on 600. So how this works is very simple. Let me just go all the way up where I have the column names. So each of the socket gives you 2%. Initially when I did the calculation, I always thought that I do 3 multiplied by 2, that's 6%, then increase by 486, 3%, which is wrong. How POE calculates is basically 2% increase 483, which is basically 2 multiplied by 5.83, which you get, let's say 11.66. Now, everything in POE except for magnitude rounds down, so that's 11%. That means you get 33% increase per shield, or 11 per socket. So if you quickly go down, you will see that the breakpoint is almost every other 50, right? So if you can't afford 550, just go for the next tier below it, which is anything up to 500, and these things can go very, very cheap. So just remember that. Go back to my game. So that's the shield. I do have a spare, let's say, secondary set, which I sometimes use for farming, which is a random rarity shield. So you don't need it, it's a premium item, doesn't really matter. Next is the armor, and this I think is one of the most important piece. This thing itself, per socket, it increases 5% mana and 5% attribute. So since there are 5 sockets, it will give me easily 25% increase, plus 10% mana here, so 35% mana and 25% attributes. It is a huge boost. Again, when you're starting out, just get these two stats plus 5 socket. Don't care whatever armor here, again the base is pretty low, you don't need to min-max when you first start up. Just to show you how much it adds, so I have about 10,600 mana. If I just remove this, you can see it's about 2,005 alone just from this item.
I would need more
Now I
strength
can't wear
for that.
this, so let me swap my weapon. Let me wear this, done. Magic. I'll show you the passives later, how I do it. So armor done. Let's talk about gloves. So this glove is also a min-max item, so double res with critical damage. Sorry, single res with intelligence plus critical damage. Then same thing, maximum mana, and as high ES that you can get. Ideally, I would want this maximum life to be, let's say, a ES roll, but well, I can't do anything, so I mean I bought it as is, so doesn't matter, it's good enough. Ingenuity belt, one of the very important item, but it is only useful when you have, let's say, a belt with 70% and higher, preferably with intelligence built in. And it is only useful when you have good rings, which I will cover shortly. Choose the usual stuff. You want movement speed and as high ES as possible, maximum mana, and here I went with double res and intelligence. So you can see that almost every item I have int, no int here because I need the double res. Otherwise, preferably I would, let's say, drop the fire resistance, go with, let's say, a 33 intelligence, and fix the resistance somewhere else, let's say in my G-Wheel. Here, no int because I went for crit and cast speed. Well, we can't do int here. Now, let's talk about my jewelries. My amulet, pretty much one of the closest possible to best in slot. It's not best yet because ideally I would want, let's say, percentage max mana together with flat max mana, but that means I need to drop the spell damage and potentially even the crit damage because these things goes very expensive. They are mirror tier, like best in slot, so I just went with whatever I can afford, which is pretty good enough. Spell damage, flat mana, spirit. Here I have 60 spirit, so just one item is sufficient for me to have Archmage plus blink or cast on shock. And then crit damage, intelligence. Bridge ring, this is my damage ring. So pretty much max mana and intelligence is a must-have. Then since I'm using ring to fix my resistance, I have a single res here. And then the premium stat is basically the lightning damage, rarity, and cast speed. You don't need rarity here, but I like to run without any rarity gears. Let me just show you. Even without any rarity gears, I have 98%, which to me is more than enough because I just need this to get divine orbs. Anything more is diminishing return. So if you have to prioritize, get as much mana as you can, get as high intelligence as you can, and resistance, if you need to use this as your resistance, it is very good. 44% here times 1.8, that's easily 70 or close to 80% just from one ring. Let me show you. So with the ring, I have 85% cool resistance. If I take it out, 6%. So just from one single item, close to 80%. And I even calculated in POB, I'll show you later. This ring is better than the Dream Fragments. Of course, I'm losing the immunity to freeze, which is not a problem because I have double charm. Second ring, this is my resistance ring, so you can see there's a triple resistance here with innate fire resistance, all res, and lightning res. So it can go with any combination. It can be lightning res here, and then let's say fire res here, and all elemental res here or cool resistance, whatever. You just do your puzzle fitting. I hate it the most. You can see in my stash, I have like 1, 2, 3, And I even sold some, I think, at least 3 to 4 different rings just to swap around when I change gears. It is annoying, this puzzle piece. So, what else? Second weapon. So I briefly mentioned this already, but I didn't explain. So make sure it's charming stuff with Sigil of Power. You want it to be level 18 or higher. Again, let's go to the Breakpoint website. So, switch my screen, Sigil of Power. So level 18, well, actually it doesn't do much. Anything above 17 is fine, but the thing is we are trying to get it to the next tier. So if you look at my game, my Sigil of Power with my second weapon set is level 25. So where does level 25 gives me? 16, just nice, the breakpoint. So if you don't have all spell level like I do on my amulet, you probably would need let's say -3. Let's just take it out. So level 22 here. So in that case, you would need, let's say, level plus all spell 6 on the staff. It's very expensive. Then that brings you to 24, right? Plus 6, and then yeah, still not enough. You still need some others to push you to level 25 and higher. So work within your budget. Just be aware of the breakpoint. So every breakpoint gives you 1 more percentage per stage. So 4 stage is 4%. So yep, that's the second weapon set. Here, in terms of priority, make sure you have what happened? Make sure you have +4 spell, followed by cast speed, then shock if you can, because remember we are using this weapon just to shock enemies, and then maximum mana so that your health doesn't drop that much when you swap weapon. So 10.6, 8.1. It is still a huge drop, but if I were to use, let's see, I think I still have my old no, I sold it already. If I don't have plus 200 mana there, probably 7006 or 7007. So it is going to be painful if you are debuffing and then you get hit and then you die. So yeah, that's all the weapon. Now, how much does all this cost? Now again, I've mentioned upfront, this is a multi-mirror build, and it is really the endgame build, right? So it won't be cheap. So let's Excel. So here you can see all the item at a glance. I won't read it out, but yellow is basically the price I have bought them, and green is the current market price as of today when I recorded this video. Some of it you will see DIY, means I got lucky craft, or I bought the base and then I wallop it myself. Now the thing is, this is not the true cost because there are also some other, let's say, gambles which I have failed. I think I've tried at least 3 to 4 helms before I reach these double socketed ones that I'm happy with. Now all of these items here, quickly scroll, the total price is, in terms of the bought price, close to 1000 divines just for the equipments, and close to 800 divines just for the jewels. And of course, temporarily is not cheap. This is probably the most expensive item, I think. Oh no, sorry, the one is more expensive now. So this is one of the most expensive item I have, and I only bought it quite recently, a couple of days ago. So you don't need it when you first start, but it helps with mapping. Like, let me just show you how fun it is. So let's say if I'm mapping, I will just, because I one hit almost everything, I will just spark blink, spark blink, spark blink. sometimes I don't even loot, like I will just go back later if I see anything right off valuable. So yeah, that's pretty much the gameplay. And anyway, since I'm on this topic, the annoying part is every time I do this, I can't hot swap back. So initially I bought an extra stats amulet, but later I found out there's an easier way to do it, which I can put some strength attribute and strength attribute here, as well as whatever dexterity attribute if I need, so that when I swap weapon, let's say I swap weapon now, I have enough stats to wear it. And now once I wear the this item, there's 25% attribute increase. You will see the strength even on my weapon too is higher now. I go back to my primary weapon, 53. I don't know if this is a bug or intended, but as far as I'm concerned right now, it is a feature for me. So yeah, that's the magic. Now let's go back to the item price. So yeah, that's pretty much all the item costs. And of course this is today's market value. So probably 1 to 3 mirror, depending if you can find the item. Some of it I can't even find anymore, like the 1. And amulet. Temporalities, there's still plenty of them. And of course the gems, the jewelries here, sorry, whatever you call this, the diamonds, the jewels, they are pretty expensive to get by, especially this Prism of Belief. I got unlucky. I bought the +2, and a week later, the +3 went from 300 divines to 1 mirror. I couldn't afford it anymore, and it doesn't make sense in my build at this juncture with this DPS, because it's not going to add much. Like, let me show you. Assume this is the level 3 build. Without, yes, 100 over K, but in bigger scheme of things, it's nothing. Definitely not worth a mirror. Like, if I have a mirror to spare, I would either get a mirror tier amulet or mirror tier 1. That will give me triple or double the DPS increase than the +3 spark. For the diamond, I'm using, let me just go back to the game. So yeah, let's go through the jewels, then we talk about the passives. So I spoke about this already, +2, you don't need this when you first start. You can use the lightning conduit one, which should be cheaper, or just use any other jewels. This one I'm going with polymathy and cook. So what does this tool do? Again, this helps me to get 10% increased attribute, and I don't need to travel that far. Eventually, I was thinking if I change my dream fragments, I can even drop this too and save another 4 points here. Hook, well, I don't know what else to get. Everything else is very expensive, so I'm just getting this cheap diamond, and this 50% bonus is pretty much free. Remember earlier, I'm pretty much spamming the flask when I'm bossing anyway. So let's see, 1.225 with flask. Okay, it's bugged again, 1.30. So, and this thing lasts like what, 10 seconds? So 3 DPS, why not? Okay, next, standard, basically magnitude and then damage. Magnitude and then damage. In this case, I'm also getting mana on Q. You will also notice that I'm getting all my dexterity from these 2 items alone. Same thing here. Here I don't have magnitude, but I have 4 damage lines. Crit damage, spell damage, elemental, whatever. And int. From Nothing Diamond, this is for my passive skill, so that I can have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 without going into all these small nodes. So I save like a plenty of points here just from this item alone. And the best part, I can combine with this Against the Darkness. Here the most important thing is 4% intelligence. Second one, get whatever you want. When you first started, there are some resistance or whatever trash lines which goes very cheap. If you can find with built-in intelligence corrupted, so it's a very good bonus. I think I get at least 17 if I remember. You will see on POB later. Next, again, same thing. Magnitude, triple damage, intelligence. Magnitude, triple damage, intelligence. Magnitude, triple damage, strength. Okay, let's talk about this a little. So here, now, let me just go back up here. Most build would use, let's say, a massive control ring here, and you would get this pure power. Let's get rid of this. So you get this pure power. Depending on your build, if you are running crit, you will also get this controlling magic for free. And lightning quick for free. This one for free, but it's useless, so I'm not going to show this. And I think Eldritch will, yeah, this one, 3% mana. So the thing is, first, I'm not running any energy shield, so this thing is pretty much just 3% mana for me. Not that high of a value. Lightning quick, yup, 14% lightning damage, interesting, but I have enough lightning damage everywhere else. Same for my cast speed, not so useful. Controlling magic, it's not that expensive, it's just 2 passive points. I can come in very easily. That means I just need this pure power, which I can easily get from my anointment here. With this anointment, that means I can use this medium large ring, which not many people is using, and it is very cheap. I got this for like what, 10 divines only with 9 intelligence. So yeah, and this is pretty low negative elemental and chaos resistance too. The best part for me is you get this wild storm together with expose to the storm for free, which gives you 18 penetration and 30% crit chance increment, which basically translates to 3% crit chance when you have lightning exposure. Remember, we have lightning exposure from which source? Your debuffs, right? So that's basically free crit chance when you hit bosses. Of course, this thing is useless when you fight against normal trash mobs, but this is where the resistance is useful. I have like 41% resistance, I think. Resistance penetration. Sorry, only 30? Yeah, only 30 now. Thought I had 41 at one point in time. Yeah, I think I switched my build. So only 30, but it is good enough for everything. I will show you in the Simulacrum later. Even if it's insufficient, just move this up. And you have, where's my penetration? 60%. Everything is capped at 50 anyway, except for Simulacrum, which they have way higher resistance. But I have my debuffs if they walk into my... But usually they die before they even walk, so yeah. So back here, once you get these 2 points for free, the best part is you get this mental toughness for free, which reduces the mana cost. Without it, it would probably, let me show you. So 576, and look at the mana drain. Let me talk to my up first. So full mana. Right. Compare with this. So twice as long. And to me, this is a bonus gift. So first approach, 50% increase hit crit chance, which is 5%. 80% increase against full life enemies. Essentially, free damage, especially for trash mobs. This thing is trash and useless against bosses, but I'm using this only for trash mobs. Of course, I don't swap build, it's just here on my weapon 1 skill set. I'll go to POB later so it's easier to see. So let's go back to my jewels. Again, magnitude here, 2% mana on kill, and 2 damage. Same thing here, magnitude, triple damage, and corrupted blood immunity. PoE2, I think this is not so useful, only probably in Trial of Chaos and the King of the Mist, but King of the Mist, it is pretty useless because the boss die instantly anyway. Anyway, I just use it in case if I pepeg in Trial of Chaos. Corrupted blood, remember, is a physical damage, it's not chaos damage. I almost died once in Trial of Chaos without knowing this. That's why I bought this, because I got so pissed off. This thing, I don't have any divines to corrupt it anymore. Ideally 8 or 10 intelligence or strength, so that I can free up my 1 passive point here. 10 strength. So yeah, that's pretty much the high level 3 and the jewels. Let's go into POB so I can go a little bit more granular. Okay. So again, you can pretty much follow the POB. I won't explain the sequence, but I want to talk about weapon 1 and weapon 2. Primarily, your weapon 1 is all the damage nodes, like all this crit damage, extra speed when you crit chance, and extra damage, percentage of damage on mana, pure power, well this is anointment, so wildstorm, penetration, all this so-called damage based, and also this first approach, I think, yeah, it is. So all these damage based nodes, you want it to be on your weapons at 1. Same for all this crit damage. The only reason why this is on the main node, because of 10 strength. I need it for my gear, and I don't have enough. I'm already capped out on my weapon passive trees point. So yep, this works out just nice. Then for weapons passive 2, this gives me the ultra big ring that you see earlier. Let me go back to the game again. So let's go to somewhere bigger. This thing is fucking huge. When I was duoing with my friend back then, before I had this damage, of course, in Simulacrum 10, my friend would just Tempest Fury around this ring. It was funny. You can watch my previous video for that. Then, because of that area of effect increase, this curse is also fucking big. Somewhere else here. Look at this ring. Even if the boss hitbox, probably half of this, usually. So I can just, I don't even need to aim, I just press the button. Same thing for the wrap here, I just place one so you can see. Look at the ring size. So anyway, it's optional, but I like it. I can't play without this anymore. Now, here I'm going in just to get my chronomancy. I think this is slightly outdated. Let me check the in-game, because I'm pretty sure, yeah, I had it on strength and dexterity because of the magic swap I mentioned earlier. Let me just fix it. So this way, I don't need an extra amulet on my body. So this is for 20% increase, sorry, not 20, but 40% skill effect duration. Another 45 skill effect duration. And another 15 here. This was why, if you noticed earlier, unlike most other builds, my buff can easily last 14 seconds. Where is my skeleton? Oh, they are here. So yeah. And this thing is huge AoE. Do it again. $14. Basically, yeah. Without it, it's probably like what, 6 seconds? Not to forget, I have also this persistence here. So again, up to you. I really enjoy it. I tried many other, let's say, usage on persistence in Sigil of Power or Spark, but this is just too much damage boost to ignore. Otherwise, if I have to weapon swap and then spike, look at how slow it is. Of course, it is slightly faster, I notice, when you do the full rotation, because your first, let's say, half second is already used on these few items. And there's also a reason why my buttons are all in one line, so I can just piano it, like, and then I can go back spamming. There's also one reason why I put the cooldown thingy on here, because if, let me just show you what happened in the past when I piano and almost killed myself. Look at how expensive this is. I would die just from this curse. So, and anyway, the ring is smaller, right? So if I put this on faster, and I can't cast it more than once, so I can spam all I like. I won't die, right? So going back to POB. Oh yeah, and this one, well, this I will explain in the magnitude section. I was experimenting a bit with the jewels and the item, but I had 1% shot of magnitude increase effect, so I needed this. It's odd, but anyway. So those skill duration to me are the mandatory. Area of effect, get it when you can afford. Same for the one here, because this is like 4 or 5 points. So at least get this to increase skill duration, then you would at least get, I think, 11 to 12 seconds already, which is good enough. There's also this exposure increase, very important, because with 1, 2, 3, 4, just 4 points on weapon set 2, I'm already getting like, I think 68% debuff. I will show you my Excel later. Or actually, let's just test it in game. So yeah, 60. Anyway, I'll talk about magnitude here since we are on this section. So you can see 69%, 68 and 69%. So the one on the left and right is the shocked, and the one in the middle is the lightning exposure. So let me explain how it works, and then I will show you the Excel real quick. Let me just kill some of it. Too many. Ah, they're all dead. Stack. So let me go to my Excel. Okay, I'm using this set currently. So in my primary skill tree, you have seen earlier I have the 30% magnitude. This node here, right, 30% increased magnitude. Right, so it's easier. And then much better. And then all the so-called rare jewels added up, 117%. I won't count. You count in the video if you want. For the set 2, I have, let's say, 15% increase here. This was the thing I needed to fix. Otherwise, it won't be 69. Let me show you. It's 66. And then when I mark, it's 96. It's annoying. 10%. And then skill quality, this comes from my lightning wrap. Max quality, increase 10% magnitude. Okay. And then what else? Gem. So gem, there's this, remember I mentioned the important gem, overcharge, 75% increased magnitude. So that's why, oh, it expired. That's why 69%. And the important thing is, this calculation is a round up calculation. Just quickly simulate. Let's say if I remove 7, still whole number. Let me find something to remove. 66.4. Okay, let's remove, what did I remove just now? 15%. Let's find a 15% to remove. So if I remove this 15%, logically it would be 66.4 rounded down to 66, right? See, 66, exactly the same number. So anyway, you notice I only put one shock ground, so there's only one shock. That's why I mentioned during bossing, spam it. See, consistent shocks, so I don't die. So let me put back the 15%. Now let's find another number that I can test the round up concept. If I remove 14 and 15, okay, perfect. Let me find the 14 to remove. Here. Okay, 14 and 15 remove, right? Do I still have my gear? That's fine. See, 64. 64. I found this the hard way also. I was like, why does the magnitude not tie? That's when I realized this thing is the only thing that rounds normally in the entire game. Okay, maybe not entire game, I didn't test everything. I only know Stormweaver. So yeah, use this information for at your will, whatever that helps. So let me undo so I don't mess up my stuff. So now that's why in my set tool you notice that I have exactly 69. Why? This way when I use the word tick mark, it will become 100% exactly. There's no point going above 100 because that's the cap in the game. And let's quickly test the tick mark. Let me swap. Let me take this out and put on here so that I can curse normally. And then I will reapply the shock ground. Okay, so oh wait, I haven't put my things back. Okay. So 69 mark. Where's my mark? Oh. Oh, okay. I think I know why. Okay, I have text now. Q can't be used. Ah, okay, it works now. So let's find the mob. Like this. So 69, I mark 100. That's the cap. So when you combine it with the lightning conduit, it will consume the shock. Now this thing I don't know how to test. There seems to be some that said that the consumption only applies to the first, let's say, shock effect. Like, there's only one. Okay, so here you can see there's 169, right? There's a theory that says only the first 100 is consumed, and the 69 is just there. The 69 from strike twice. Sorry, here. It doesn't apply the so-called lightning conduit consumption. So I don't know which is which. If you know, please let me know. Been trying to figure out, but I can't find a way to test it. So yeah, going back to my Excel, and same thing for the attack set. Normally it's just 49, double, so about 98. And because I have Volatility mark on my custom shop, sometimes it will just randomly mark enemy, which brings it to 71. So that means it's just easily free 120% damage increase. Or if they are on my debuff ground, 69 plus 100, so 160 damage increase. Otherwise, if it's just times 2, 98 here and 138 here. So all these are just extra damage for me. Now let's talk about the lightning exposure. Let me just double check because I changed the build a few times. 10 plus 40. I have 10 plus 40. I have 10 plus 30. 10 plus 30. So 68, which is the number you see earlier. So how this works is, basically, by default, you have a 20%. Where's my game? You have a 20%, let's say, increase from your ascendancy. Let me just take out strip away and just lightning exposure here. Ah, I need to retrade. I'll just show everything. Okay. So see, by default it's 20. So that's the basic exposure when you have this basic gem. Now, if I start trading into, before I trade, let me just show you a very simple 10% increase, so you can understand the formula. So you can see 20 times 1.1, 22%. But the moment I trade into this ascendancy, the scurrying means, need to reapply. See, 44. So this thing is, this is additional 20%. This and this thing is increased 10%. They are very different. Let me just show you in Excel. So how it works is, you have 20% base so-called exposure plus 20% from your ascendancy, so that's 40, right? Then whatever extra increased exposure effect that you get from your passive trees, they all go here, as well as the gems. As you accumulate all of them, you get this multiplier, so times 1.7. So that's how you get 68. You can just quickly see as I trade into additional points. Now it should be somewhere around 62, I think. Right, 56. Yeah, 56. Then if I put the last thing in, which is strip away, another 30%. That's around 60 something. Yeah, 68. So that's how exposure works. Different with spark. So yeah, that's both magnitude and exposure covered. What else do I have? Okay. I spoke about this, I spoke about years. DPS. Okay. This is also very important. What is my damage? Oh. Damage. Okay, this is more like it. So, earlier I mentioned about I only got cast speed quite late in the game. Like you can see I don't even have it here yet, I can't afford. It's a mirror tier item. So, I got cast speed here and in my one. That's the 2 cast speed source that I have on items. Of course with this belt 1.8 multiplier, which is pretty good. Other than that, my other cast speed source is here, and of course force of will. For every arcane surge I get for arcane surge I get 10% more cast speed, and then for every increased effect I get this multiplier per 15 mana. So that's, I don't know, you do the math. 10,000 divided by 15, then 10 times 1 plus whatever the number that you get. So currently I have 4.72 cast. I'm trying to get it to 5.5, but my recommendation is don't go for cast speed until endgame. When I first started, all I was pursuing is the true damage, which you can see, let's say average damage per use here. This thing, if you get it, let's say just around 100,000, you can already almost one-shot everything except for Simulacrum. So once you get enough, let's say hit damage, and this hit damage is inclusive of your critical. When I first, critical hit chance and critical hit damage. So when I first started, I was on a non-crit build, so those two doesn't matter for me. It's just raw damage here, 100k, good enough. Then towards the end, I added critical hits, and finally I added cast speed before I get to this so-called 0.21. To me, 0.35 is good enough. Of course, it would sometimes annoy you a little when you try to cast and walk. Like with 0.21, I can spam and still walk. You can see I walk very fast. Let me switch to this so you can see my mouse clicks. Okay, here. So you can see I'm not holding down my mouse, but if I'm holding down my mouse, I'm walking very slowly, and I will drain my mana. So with 0.21, it is very comfortable. With 0.35, probably, well, I can't show, but let me see. Ah, okay, just nice. I turn off the arcane surge. I have 0.34. See, I can't click as fast, otherwise I may like choke a bit when I walk. So I will just walk slightly slowly. So I mean I click slightly slower to keep the movement speed. Yeah. So anyway, cast speed and get it towards the end game. That's all you need to remember. So I've covered pretty much everything I think. Character screen, I've covered all the skills and the gems. Covered all the items and the price. Oh, I forgot this. This probably is the most important item. I've used it so many times, but I forgot to speak about it. Good thing is, when I bought it, it was like 20 over divines. Now it's like what? Almost free. Okay. Ignore the 244% duration. Actually, all this doesn't matter. You just need this potion. Oh my god, it's so cheap now. So, get it first. Like, really, just get this first. Then, yeah. What else did I show you? Ah, yes. Damage configuration and setups. Okay, now for the POB setup, what I did is basically to change the resistance here to above 50, just to simulate basically a little bit of delirium, but it's not the real simulation because you can see if I put the real delirium here, the DPS is shit. But I don't do only Simulacrum, so I needed a balanced view, so I just put 75 here for enemies lightning resistance. Make sure you have all the quests. I think I didn't touch anything else except for full life, and also this full life on enemy. Remember this trait that I have that I say is a little bonus, useful for trash mob but trash and useless for bosses. Yep, basically this allows me to calculate the first hit just to see how much damage I'm dealing to the trash to basically try to one-shot them, especially in Simulacrum. So you can see with this tick 3.6 million without 3.1 million, and regardless of which number, the problem you may see now is how come it's 3.1 million? We didn't see any of this number in the game earlier. If I switch to the game, you will see it's only like what? This thing is so annoying. 1.22 million. So just remember that POB and POE 2, for whatever reason, they have different calculations. So don't bother with the number, just look at it from trending perspective. So what else? This is the enemy shock. Make sure you take it so that you can set to double stacks. Arcane Surge, yes, and the potion, yes. Remember my polymathy? That gives me 50% crit damage for free. See? And of course this one, it gives me the free cuspid here. 8% and 15% spell damage. What else? Calculation. Yeah, you can download POB and take a look. Items, I've covered everything already. Maybe just one simulation, assuming if I get additional mirrors or donations or whatever. Probably if I were to change my one, let me just do it again. I'll duplicate this and do it on the fly. If I change, let's say one of these mirror tier 1, it will cost me, where's that? Yeah, this one. It will cost me probably 1.7 mirror just to get 400k DPS increase, which is like what? Less than 15%? Not worth. How about rings? Now I mentioned that my ring is already pretty good. So if I replace this bridge ring with the perfect dream fragment, it's somewhere. Yep, this one. Just look at the damage loss that I have. 480k damage loss. So I can't touch this bridge ring for sure. The only workaround I have is I will change my ruby ring with the perfect sapphire. But problem is, look at this mess of the resistance. I don't even know where to clean up. So definitely I won't get this just for merely what? Again? 250k increase. Not worth. And if you talk about the immunity to freeze, I don't really care because I have double charm set up. I have immunity to freeze already. And with this item, I also get increased duration of the freeze immunity and easy recharge. Anyway, I only get frozen with trash mobs if I blink into them and do stupid things. The more important charm anyway is the stun charm in Simulacrum, which you can see in some of the videos that I have in the past. Now, if I buy a mirror tier amulet, Same thing about 1.7, 1.8 kind of cost. It will give me close to 800. So probably I will upgrade this, but at this stage, it's a bit, let's say, tiring. You can't get mirrors from game. It's like all this farming is stupid. So yeah, that's pretty much all the items. Let me switch back. What else is there in POB? Queue setup, nothing much to explain. Go and watch some POB video. It's basically just manually creating all this and set it up. Ignore this one. I was just testing stuff, assuming if I take this, and yeah. So what I do is, because if you recall earlier, I have the full debuff setup where I have the skeleton and all that stuff, right? So I basically had a second skill set. It's just a duplicate of the first one where I take everything, including my cast on shock, because in normal trash scenario I don't even have chance to cast on shock because things just die instantly. So with this full setup, I will also switch my configuration to the max debuff version, which if you recall earlier I had not 66 but 69 magnitude. So 69 here, it didn't factor in the voletic mark. I don't know how to make it work. Usually I just ignore, or I just do this just to see the damage. But anyway, it doesn't make too much of a difference. It's just too big of a number to digest anyway. So yeah, this is how my POB looks like. I will include the link to my POB. Feel free to download and play around. What else do I need to show that I haven't already? Probably last thing in game is my Atlas skill tree. This is what I have. I probably can't explain them. I'm just copying it from my friend. So yeah, do whatever you think works. I didn't bother with this because logbook is shit. I only gotten like I only gotten 1 bosses out of like 20 over books. So I think for the bridge, the only thing is when I do the twisted domain, I will just switch to this and then switch back here for normal mapping. I think that should be pretty much it. I've covered everything for my 10k mana, 1k intelligence, and 1 million DPS spark build. Hope you enjoy, and feel free to share, like, and subscribe. See you in the next one. Bye bye.
와우, 잠시만.